Hey, it's Miss Geiger again, and I am coming to you with another video. This time I am going to be adding fractions with unlike denominators. So just to recap, if you have forgotten, we have the numerator, which is the top number, which represents the part of a fraction, and then we have the denominator, which is the bottom number, which represents the whole of a fraction. So it's part of out of whole, okay? So I'm going to start with 1/4 plus 2/12. And as we can see that these two numbers both have different denominators. So how do we go about adding fractions or subtracting fractions if these two numbers have different denominators? So let's find out. So I divided these into 4 simple steps for each of these. And these are steps that you can repeat with time. The first step is we find the least common denominator of these numbers. And what that means is the smallest number that these two denominators have in common. So let's see. Our denominators are 4 and 12. So for 4, I'm going to count by 4s, and for 12, I'm going to count by 12s. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I'm going to stop there. For 12, I'm going to count by 12s. That means 12, 24, 36, 48, and I'll stop there. So if I look at these two numbers, okay, I'm going to find the smallest number that they both have in common. So on the top, I see a 12 here, and the smallest number for 12, which starts with 12, is going to be 12. So I've identified my least common denominator is 12. So that's my new denominator. Now I'm going to convert these fractions to that new denominator. So 1/4 is now going to be something out of 12 because I'm looking for an equivalent fraction to where instead of 1/4, it can be something out of 12. Okay. So I'm going to use the algorithm. And since I'm going from a smaller number to a large 12, I'm going to simply multiply because when you go from small to big, it's an increase, so you're going to multiply. So from 4 to 12, that is multiplied, 4 is multiplied by a factor of 3 to get 12. And whatever you do to the bottom or the denominator, you have to do to the numerator. So 1 is multiplied by a factor of 3 to give you 3. So our new number, which is equivalent to 1/4, is 3/12. Now I'm going to take 3/12 and I'm going to add that number to 2/12, and then I will simplify if possible. So 3/12 plus 2/12, they both have the same denominator now, is going to give me a total of 5/12. And that number is already simplified because if it were 6/12, then it will reduce to 1/2, but it is 5/12, so that is simplified. Now, let's look at this same process, but this time we're going to be subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. So, the first step, we always find our least common denominator. So 7, 14, 21, 28, and then here I have 28, 56, and 84. So if we look at these numbers, I have 28 and 28 here. So I'm going to go with my least common denominator is 28. So that is going to be my new denominator for both numbers. Okay? So now we are going to convert the fractions. So 3 out of 7 now has to be some number out of 28, which is the new denominator. So because I'm going from a small 7 to a giant 28, I am going to multiply by a factor of 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator. So 7 multiplied by a factor of 4 gives me 28. 3 multiplied by a factor of 4 gives me 12. So now I can subtract the fractions. So 12 out of 28 is my new equivalent fraction, okay? And I'm going to subtract 1 out of 28. So 12 out of 28 minus 1 out of 28. And now I get 11 out of 28 as my final answer. So let's recap the steps. We found the least common denominator, step 1. Then we converted the fractions, that's step 2. We added the fractions, that's step 3. And our simplified answer is step 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4 as well. So now you can see this process. I hope this was helpful. Have a great night.